Hello, everyone. Welcome to the August 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Waynesboro Area School District Board of Directors. People who are here in attendance, please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Kuzer, let's do roll call, please.
Here. Dr. Royer? Here. Smile? Here. Mrs. Strike? Here. Mr. Marvin?
Here.
Mrs. Zimmerman?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan? Here. Mr. Smith is not here, and Mrs. Carroll.
Here. Thank you. Okay, the agenda tonight, don't believe we're adding anything new, Dr. Klein. Okay, so can we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments on the agenda as it is? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. On to the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Questions from anyone? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Superintendent report, Dr. Klein.
All right, good. The main thing is tomorrow's the first day of school and we're excited to have the kids back. Always tell everybody, let's have as much excitement when they come in the door as what we do when they go out the door at the end of the year. And so also our local police departments will be out, and we just want to ask everybody to be safe when you're out there because kids are gonna be on the streets walking. Standing at the bus.
Thank you. Okay, now on to public comment. We do have, I'm not sure if two people want to speak or three, either way. Last week, the person who spoke, I wrongly let her kind of go on and on and on. We are going to enforce the 5 minutes. So people who are speaking tonight, please, if you could limit to that, we would appreciate it. Okay, so the first person speaking is America Brocious.
Hi, my name is America Brocious, 13224 Delaware Circle, Waynesboro, PA. The reason I am would like to speak is regarding the budget issues with the district. I noticed that later on tonight, there's a baseball dugout roof that is up for approval by the district to pay for a certain amount. The baseball team apparently has the Booster Club has gotten some donations to go for that towards that roof replacement. The reason I bring that up is because my daughter plays softball, and earlier in the year, this past season, they were needing to get their softball dugout roofs replaced. There was mold in the dugouts because the roofs were leaking and the wood had started to rot, and then mold had started to grow. And in order for the kids to start out the year with the season, they were not going to be able to play with it like that. So we asked for it to be replaced. When we asked for it to be replaced, it was told to the Booster Club that that was not in the budget and that the Booster Club would be responsible for paying for that. That is a concern because the Booster Club did not have any finances left over from the year before. And what little fundraising that they were able to manage to do was in line to do the uniforms. We had not had new uniforms in the last 5 years. We could not get an estimate of when the uniform, I guess you have to get in line for new uniforms for the sports. And we were not told when that was going to be, not given any update, but basically we were going to have to pay for both the roofing for the dugouts as well as the uniforms for the team. So one of the parents on the Booster Club was able to put out a couple of bids. We worked together to secure some bids. We actually got bonded applicators to donate the cost of the roofing for both the dugouts, and they paid for it 100%. So while we thank bonded applicators for doing that donated work, we understand that there are other businesses that are willing to do donations and that it would not cost the district this extra money to do the baseball dugouts. The reason I'm bringing this to attention is because it's a concern with regards to what monies are being given to certain teams and not given to other teams. What are those monies being used for? What is the rotation for the uniforms? I have emailed Mr. McElwain about it directly, and he said that I needed to reach out to the facilities committee and the finance committee in regards to these issues. So I've gotten no clarification. In the meantime, you know, to follow up with the budget issues I've had with the district since the beginning of last year, we had numerous requests to building principal for budget and required expenses as the PTO treasurer that I am for Hooverville. The PTO presidents as a whole in the district, because they were not getting the invoice in the budget that they needed, decided to go to the superintendent. Superintendent was unable to give them any additional information and asked that we meet with the board before their meeting on October 27th, which we met with you all on October 27th before your actual board meeting, as you remember. At that time, both Dr. Sterner-Hein and Mr. Holtzman said that they would handle it, they would work together, and that they would come up with another meeting with just the PTO and themselves. So we met with Dr. Sterner-Hein on November 2nd. At that time, she said that it was her scheduled meeting. She scheduled it. And she said, informed us that it was needed to be a quick meeting because she was missing a contract meeting for negotiations with the teacher contracts. And that we were not to contact Mr. Holtzman direct, as it was supposed to be us contacting the principals. The report was wrong for the second time, the budget report, the numbers did not match up. And she said she would handle it and take care of it with Mr. Holtzman. We fast forward to March the 2nd. I had received 3 invoices for field trips that took place both in September, October, and on December 16th. So mind you, we had this meeting with you all in October, meeting with Dr. Sterner-Hein in November. We don't get any invoices until March the 2nd. One invoice wasn't our responsibility, so I spoke with the building secretary because the principal was out of the office. Mrs. Camacho said that I should contact Mrs. McAllister. I contacted her. She said I needed to talk with the building principal. The building principal said I should handle at the building level, tried to get more clarification on the budget. She did say that it was a forecast and that it would, she would get me the bills. June 29th, I sent an email because it's the end of our fiscal year for PTO, requesting these invoices so we can get them paid so I can stop being.
Okay,
the
you're out of
treasurer.
time, Ms. Procious.
It is now August. I just got the bills on August 9th, shortly after August 9th. So
Okay.
as you can see, it's a concern and I don't know how to better
Okay.
handle it.
Well, it's a long, concerning the facilities, yes, that is more of a conversation. So I would highly suggest if you want time to talk in facilities about the softball issue, we could put you on.
Okay,
When-
who's the
when is the
facilities
next- It's
committee?
Mr. It's Miss, I'm on it, but it's Mr. Smith is the
Mr. Smith.
chairman. When is the next one, Mr. Holtzman, for facilities? Do you have any,
I think it's 20th, is it?
or
September 20th, I believe.
September 20th?
Double check.
Okay.
We meet
Uh,
at
some of you.
Correct, September 20th.
And I am not going to make that meeting, and I know a lot about the softball issue, so I will have a conversation with you. In
Great.
fact, if you want to call me tomorrow,
Great. I
Okay.
would appreciate that.
do you want me to call you?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the other issue, again, it sounds like there is communication, obviously not to your satisfaction. Sounds like, so you're looking, what are you looking for? You're looking for building budgets? Is that what you're looking
No,
for?
when the school building goes on field trips,
Yes,
some of those field trips are paid by the district.
Yes.
Some of those field trips are paid by the PTO.
okay,
I'm looking for the invoices that concern the PTO.
Okay.
And that they be,
that you paid.
yeah, no,
okay.
no, not that I paid. I'm
Oh.
looking for them to be able to pay them.
Oh.
See, so we've taken field trips September, October, December. I didn't get the bills for those 3 till March.
Got it.
We took spring field trips
Okay,
and I've only gotten 2 of those bills this month.
got it. And any of you talked to, this is some of you,
No, it's Hooverville.
Hooverville. Have you talked to Mrs. Eberhard?
Yes.
Okay,
and she
she's
said she was
referring you
following
to-
up with it. She would talk with them. They say they're following up with it. They'll talk to the next person. Everybody's talking to somebody, but
Do you have a
unfortunately, I'm not getting the
suggestion,
correct
Dr.
information.
Sternheim, for how to
So
handle
can I
this?
get a clarification, because I was building principal for 15 years and I've
Mhm.
never heard of such a thing. So, can I clarify, are you getting invoiced by the bus company or the Waynesboro Area School District?
The bus companies invoice the district
Okay,
and then the district invoices the PTOs. And this is not a building principal issue. as all 4 PTOs have experienced this exact same issue the entire year. And I can give you the PTO president's names and numbers if you would like that to confirm that information. That some of you just got their invoices a few weeks ago. So this is not a building
district-
principal. Please
The district
understand, it's not
can't
my building
issue an
principal.
invoice till it's received by the bus contractor. Most of the field trips occur at the end of the year, so we have to wait for the bus contractors to bill us and invoice us. So it's impossible for us to provide an invoice to the PTOs until such time as we get them from the bus contractor.
Okay, because the bus contract says there's like a standard amount of what the bus contract is, like you guys approve that. So why isn't it that once the field trip occurs, that you can go based off the contracted amount?
Because it would be based on mileage and actual time, not the forecasted estimate. We have to wait till we get the actual invoice from the bus contractor before we
Okay.
can issue an invoice.
So is the district stating that it's the bus?
That's what we
The
have to
bus
wait on. And again,
contract is
most
not
of the-
coming through
Most of
the
the trips
invoices?
occur at the end of the year, so. Getting invoices in July and August is very normal because the bus contractors are wrapping up the end of the year to put together all their field trip information and they send their invoices. That's why most of them really come in towards the end of the year or even into the next fiscal year.
So is it expected then, even with the fall field trips, not to receive them till spring, and then the spring field trips not to receive till the following fall? Is that what
We
you're
get the
saying?
Invoices from the bus contractors.
Okay, so then maybe it's something that the PTOs need to readjust their fiscal years to be able to get the current year's bills in, because I think it's costing the district money when you all are waiting for somebody else to bill to get the monies from us to pay them back.
Okay, well, I mean, that's, is that? are
Do
you
we need to
understanding that?
follow up with the bus companies to get them faster, or?
No, I don't think you could
Most
do that.
likely, and again, because of timing, if your fiscal year ends in June, most likely you should probably put an encumbrance or an accrual out there for your forecast amount. That way we keep books relatively even for the next fiscal year.
Okay, it just would help for when we transition officers and stuff to have all those bills and everything from the previous year totally ended and cleared up to be able to start with the new year.
Yeah, I guess if
But
we're saying we can't do
historically,
it.
I mean, I remember PTOs paying in July.
Mhm.
Like they weren't invoiced until July.
Yeah, which I would be fine if we had received the bills in July. But it's the middle of August, it's beginning of, the school year,
And
and
you haven't
here we are.
received them yet.
I just got one set of bills. I don't believe that they are all that we owe. In other words, I think there's a
So
couple of
according to
field
the
trips that
chart,
haven't
like,
been,
It doesn't coincide with the chart of what you guys pay versus.
right? There's some that are missing from that chart that we haven't been invoiced for yet. But I believe that we took those trips. So I was thinking that they would all be on the same bill, being that they're coming through.
We have 2 different bus contractors too.
Mhm.
So depending on who drives the bus, those bills come in different times as well, but we can definitely work on it.
Okay, and from now on, the PTOs, are they supposed to reach out only to the building principal? Or are they supposed to reach out directly to the billing office?
Again, I would suggest that the building principal is where you need to start.
Okay.
I mean, I was a building principal for 15 years and I don't know how and why it was different, but we'll figure it out. I mean, we have the chart. And then I guess once the trip's completed, we can make sure that the building principal is reminding Mr. Holtzman to remind the contractor to pay us.
Well, and I
to
would say,
invoice us so that we can pay.
just follow, if you don't get anything else in a month, ask Mrs. Everhart. Then,
Because they come.
can
in-
call
don't
me.
they
I-
come
I-
into they come into the elementary office, like Maria sees them before you see them.
Correct.
So.
But I
until-
saw her open the envelope, so I know she wasn't holding it there till I got
Sure,
it.
no, I'm saying, but I mean, they have always come into the building. And then from that perspective, then, because we know from the district office, like what needs to be billed according to like Hooverville.
Mhm.
So I know that once they arrive at Hooverville, that you are notified. But ultimately, that's not happening as quickly as you need it to happen from.
Correct, because some of you received theirs a few weeks before we had received ours. And when I had emailed our building principal, she had said she was corresponding with Ms. McAllister and Ms. Camacho to be able to get those invoices processed that
Again,
week.
we do have 2 different contractors, so I'm great. I mean, some of you could have been with one bus contractor.
Sure.
control the other.
And if
So-
that had been known to us, like in the beginning of the year, that totally could have solved the whole
Okay.
issue. Hey, expect 6 months for
Okay,
invoicing to be completed.
okay, well,
That
it
would
sounds
be
like
great.
that communication didn't happen. Hopefully now.
Yeah,
you have
now
that
we have
understanding.
clarification.
Okay.
I appreciate you
And
guys resolving.
I'll talk to you tomorrow briefly, and then the rest of the issues you can talk to facilities.
Okay,
okay.
which is Mr. Smith.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, next, and I don't know if you'd like to come up together, Brenda and Christopher Thorpe.
I am Brenda. We live in 65 Reservoir Avenue here in Waynesboro. We're actually here to voice our grievances because regarding a matter that happened with a member of your staff that leaked our family's privilege and confidential information, and the lack of accountability if you're holding your staff member too. The fact that I could not reach a member in the head position of this district for 2.5 months before I had to contact Ms. Carroll speaks volumes to what's actually being done. The level of equivocation that's been taking place here, is that every time that we call or visit the school building or the district office, we're met with this and oh, they're not in the building right now, and we don't know when they'll be in or when they'll be in tomorrow, whether they'll be in tomorrow or not. So, to the point that we had to involve the president of the board, and only then to be told that we wanted to have a meeting with the superintendent of the district that my children attend, that I had to give a full to mandate this meeting. Need I remind you, parents who trust the school with their personal information, with the expectation that this information will be used for the schools to serve the needs of the students effectively and efficiently, to protect the privacy of the students and their family, agents, and school staff are legally and ethically responsible of safeguarding student information. That being said, you are aware that this is a clear violation of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, along with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And still, no interest has been shown whatsoever. It's Ms. Harrell who actually got back to me to tell me. Couldn't have been the superintendent, couldn't have been the superintendent. According to FERPA, data about students may be disclosed without parental consent only to school and other education officials who use it to provide educational services or to carry out legally specified administrative or statistical activity. Any instances in which unauthorized individuals keep or use privileged or private information about students is inappropriate and is often an illegal disclosure. Unless the parent or the student give consent, which did not happen, or the law makes that the child. We know that our grievances are falling on deaf ears on this board. So I'm taking this opportunity to speak with my fellow concerned parents who have had grievances that have not been resolved. And I would like to tell you that it's taken me 2.5 months since the date of the incident to have anything or any word. And because of that, all we ever get is, oh, we'll look into it, because you guys aren't obligated to answer any of your questions. You guys aren't obligated to have a meeting to resolve it. And so I'm urging you guys, if you have not had your issues resolved, to file a complaint with the Pennsylvania Department of Education or any entity that applies. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all we have for public comment tonight. Moving on to board reports. Anyone have anything?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Policy didn't meet tomorrow. Well, policy isn't going to meet tomorrow because it's the first day of school. And it was just a scheduling thing, my mistake. So we're going to actually meet next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Policy committee. I already told my policy people. The only other thing is Mrs. Opko is going to be our high school person this year. Okay. So just trying to be a little bit more ahead of things this year.
are the policies that we discuss in board docs prior to the meeting, so we can review.
They have.
They have it, and then they were all.
They asked.
Well, when they're printed, we don't get them until the meeting. Okay, so wouldn't it be helpful for the committee to have them ahead of time? They wanna look at them?
Look at the changes.
No, the policies that we're gonna talk about at
Yeah.
the meeting.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes when we get there and get the paper copies.
Oh, I already
can't-
get them.
I can't read that fast.
Oh,
So what I'm
if
saying
you
is,
can't read that fast, nobody can.
well, I was gonna say, could they be put in board docs?
Yeah,
I like, when-
We typically would send them out prior to the meeting. for
Yeah,
people to
I
review.
always
That's
get 'em.
Part of the part of the process that goes to our solicitor, and usually our administrators are typically at that meeting, and the folks in Clayton team that could apply to their area, and it goes to the committee, typically, those that will review. We used to send them out every day.
Well, you send them to me and Aaron's gonna send them to everybody in the committee now.
okay, because
So
I
you'll
didn't
get
get them before.
No.
Okay,
That probably was my fault too.
okay.
How about that? I said I was.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, brother.
All right,
Yeah,
so so Aaron, when do you send those out typically?
Yeah, it gives you plenty of time to look at them and to ask questions.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Actually, I think on the agenda first, we have the process itself to review. We have to process someone there, just for everybody to go through and see if that process is still working.
Academic is meeting next Wednesday at 10:30. People on that committee, I have started an agenda, so please send me any recommendations you have for anything to add to that. Any other committee reports?
Facilities met last week at the middle school. So a couple of items from there on the discussion for tonight.
Mhm.
Budget will not meet until September.
On facilities, I don't know whose idea that was to go through the buildings, but it's a really, really good one. Because hearing about it and seeing it firsthand is totally different, and especially for like James and Mark, who, probably didn't spend a lot of time in the schools before. Well, even, I even saw things that I didn't see before, and I'm in there a lot.
Well, I could just say, because, I mean, you're relatively new, but a lot of times individual people, we would go, like, whether it's a Maui playground or whether it's cabinets at the
Yeah.
school, whatever.
Yeah.
We could stop by and take a look, but I think I agree, having everybody there.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you can't do that because there's more than one building that we're dealing with, but
Right.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Okay, all right. Anything else for reports? Okay, on then to business items. First one is personnel, Dr. Sternheim.
Thank you, Mrs. Terrell. I'd like to direct your attention to the personnel items in board docs. We're starting off with resignation of professional staff. We are very sad that Erica Nemzig is leaving us. However, she's continuing her great work in early childhood through First Start Partnerships. But we want to wish her the very best. Resignations of support staff, resignations of additional support staff, transfer of support staff, change of hours, appointments of support staff. Continuing on. Resignation of extracurricular staff, appointments of support staff, appointments of coaching staff, appointments of substitute support staff. Continuing then, we have a series of 3 leaves for approval. And then the remainder of the professional personnel items are professional staff appointments. We have Laura Engel, McKenna Four, Caitlin Yealy, Jenna Hagee, and Shannon Rock. Recommendation is to approve all personnel items as listed.
Move to approve.
And I hope I'm correct in saying that our professional staff, we are fully staffed.
We are fully staffed.
Okay, great.
I was really impressed with their new hires at the teacher induction. It was a really good, positive energy. And also with the new hires at the middle school for back to school nights there. Just a good feeling.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people that really are coming in with their eyes wide open and want to be there, which is fabulous.
Very fortunate.
Any other questions or comments on personnel? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, staffing lists.
So as a continuation, we have the full staffing list of both professional as well as support staff within the board docs for an approval of the staffing list as prepared for the 2022-23 school year.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, tenure.
Okay, the next item is just one item for recommendation of tenure. Unfortunately, Mr. Shoy was missed earlier this school year. There was some confusion as to his long-term substitute status.
Okay.
So recommendation for Mr. Shoy to have tenure is listed in the board docs.
Motion,
Second.
all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Job description, Dr. Sternheim.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold. What I've prepared is a job description for a math intervention specialist. This would be essentially a new position. What I would like to do is to have board approval to at least post the position to see if there's some interest, with the understanding that within the Waynesburg School District, we have intervention specialists in the elementary level that are primarily serving in in reading, as well as doing some of the math interventions. At the middle school level at this point, we do have one individual serving as an intervention specialist focusing on reading. I would like to have the opportunity to bring in a math specialist for at the middle school level if I'm able to find a qualified candidate during the 2022-23 school year.
Motion,
Move to approve. Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. School police supervisor job, who's taking that one? Okay,
As you can tell, there is a job description there for a school police officer supervisor. We now have 3 police officers for the district, and with that, it seems appropriate to have someone that would be somewhat in charge of helping to delegate responsibilities, help direct the departments that is there. So what I'm asking that the district approve, the board approve the job description and position of the supervisor.
Move to approve.
Second.
questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, appointment of the school police supervisor, Dr. Klein.
Is the appointment for that particular position of supervisor with the experience of 9 years, we're asking that Matthew Gordon, our police officer we've had in the district, as we mentioned, for 9 years, be appointed the police supervisor. Do not have the amount on there, however, I would ask the board in their motion that they would add $3,000 a year as supervisor, because it'll be added.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make that we appoint Matthew Gordon as the school police supervisor at $3,000 per year.
Okay, second,
Second.
questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Bus drivers. Mr. Holzman?
Yes, ma'am. So we have a couple drivers for your approval. This is with Shalom, Heck Myers, and the district itself. What we do, of course, is we put this through a process with our insurance carrier. We review driving records for this, just as the process for this, and then we come back to you for approval. So primarily, this is for insurance purposes.
Okay, so these are van drivers, correct? Or not?
It could be
Shalom and
bus.
Heck-
Yeah,
Shalom.
Shalom and Heck Myers could be bus or van drivers. I'm not sure which ones they have, if they're
Okay.
CDLs or not. For the district, they would be van drivers or district vehicle drivers, I should say.
Motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
you. Okay. On to ATSI plan. Is that you, Dr. Sternheim?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Harrod. The Waynesboro Senior High School was placed on ATSI plan, I believe, in the summer of 2017. So this is a continuation of the plan. I believe the plan was presented to the board in July, and this is just signing off, recognizing that the board understands that under Dr. McCallum's leadership, that the high school is continuing on an ATSI plan. Essentially, what it means is during the course of the 2016-17 school year, our special education students did not meet a percentage as established by the state as in terms of being proficient advanced on the keystones, as well as an attendance criteria. Ironically, since then, we have surpassed that percentage. However, as a result of this plan being a work in progress, we are still obligated to implement essentially a plan to support our special education learners at the high school setting.
And how long does that last?
Well, there is a goal sheet that goes on till 2030. We're working through it.
Oh my gosh.
You can obviously speak to that.
So this is the Department of Ed's way of implementing the Every Student Succeeds Act. And there was a call for redesignation of schools every 3 years. So the year that the high school would have had the opportunity to get off of that status was 2020. So because the assessments weren't given, they just automatically redesignated everybody. And then because of the learning loss, they automatically redesignated everybody again. So this is our automatic redesignation. So potentially based on the 2022 scores, we will be removed. We're still waiting for final data that we'll get in September. I think we're gonna, our whole student population scores were excellent. Special ed kids, I'm not sure. So it's kind of a high bar considering the way that we support them, which we're really proud of. And a lot of those supports we are not allowed to give them during the state assessments, which is unfortunate.
And it is essentially a moving target. I look to the state reestablishing those criteria because again, they were set a number of years ago based on the fact that we didn't have the PSSA in 2020 and with potentially some of the learning loss that I will be hopeful that we will hear sometime this fall about establishing. Every school in the entire state of Pennsylvania has a set criteria or percentage that they need to meet in certain subgroups, as well as attendance. So those progressively get higher and higher based on the baseline data, which would have been 2015-16.
Okay.
Is this on the website? Okay, so I couldn't find it in one of the July meetings. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion on this yet? No. Okay, can we have a motion on this?
Move to approve.
Second.
Anything else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Phoenix Occupational Therapy.
We already currently have an agreement with Phoenix. However, what we're asking is to add for an addendum, which would add occupational therapy key services to it. And I don't know if you want to add any to this, McDonald, or reasoning and all.
So the needs of the students continue to increase, and currently our OT therapist has 80 students on their caseload. So adding the services is going to help with that so they can get more direct service. And then we can also continue to problem solve and work with kindergarten and even the going into some of the preschools to help to be proactive rather than reactive. And of course, we're seeing a big increase of those fine motor skills because of COVID and not being the hands-on learning as much, being online or not being in school.
Thank you. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Anything else, questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Question.
sure.
Erica, do we continue to post for these positions to try and find? Sorry, I tried to get it in there while you were up there.
We had them posted all summer and unfortunately we weren't able to find anybody.
Okay.
And we're still, with speech, we have not found, a person to fill that position. So we're working hard to find if anybody knows any of speech therapists that would love to come work here. And I'm also working with some of the agencies locally, but there's a national, well, all employees, but especially speech.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Okay, moving on to the PCCD grant on school security. Dr. Sternhein's at you, or is that Mr. Host? Okay, Mr.
Probably tag team effort at the end of the day.
Okay.
So this is part of the 22-23 budget from the state. Through the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, they're issuing funds to all school districts in two different buckets. One is for physical security, the other one is for more mental health supports in our school district. So the district's going to receive $167,741 for both buckets, $167,000 for each bucket, to be used over a 2-year time period. So between basically August 1st of this year all the way through July 31st of 2024 is how long we can use these funds to go through. What we have to do is we have to meet certain tier requirements. So school districts cannot arbitrarily just go out and say, I want to do something that kind of, would be useful with these funds, even though it might be a benefit to the community and to their district. They're required to follow certain tier requirements. So we had to go through a process to review what those tier requirements were, and then see what we did meet, and then identify physical and mental health supports that would meet other tier 1, or if you meet all the tier 1, you can move into tier 2 requirements. So effectively, we came up with 2 different sets of criteria for the safety and security. I can probably talk to you a little bit easier. And that is, we're looking at increasing the security vestibules. We have security vestibules at each building. This would be a laminate product that would be put on the glass, so it keeps it from shattering. It makes it more difficult to kind of resist and come into the building. Also, installation of exterior door alarms throughout the buildings. That would be both an audio alarm right there at that point, as well as notification after they've been open for a period of time at the office. And then also installation of additional cameras. We always have a need and find some different locations that we have a need for cameras itself. So that's the physical side. I can step over for the.
Sure. So from the mental health perspective, when we looked at the different tiers, we recognized that we needed to identify additional supports in tier 1 for essential skills and resources. So we're looking at the possibility of bringing in a program called Leader in Me. In addition, we have been very blessed that the district has provided additional supports for counseling, but we continue to hear that the waiting lists are excessive, and we're looking at the possibility of utilizing an online counseling service that's referred to as Gaggle, ironically. And so we're looking at as an option to be able to service our students who are not able to, essentially be on a like being able to see a counselor here in Franklin County. So those are 2 options that we are researching. It's interesting grant in the sense that you do have to satisfy these criteria in tier 1 before you're able to move into tier 2 or tier 3. I'm also very pleased to announce that in a lot of cases in a particular category, we have satisfied all 3 tiers. It is a very unique grant, and I'm hopeful that we can utilize it to help our learners.
We are like to clarify. It's very much about leadership, and it's also supported corporately.
Yeah, so we're looking at it for a program from 6 to 12.
And just along those lines, which happens with a lot of these government, like we talked about the ESSER money that came from the government. We are restricted, even if we think this money could be used wonderfully for this, whatever we wanted to do, we can't always do that. And that was the case also with these 2 grants, that some things that they're saying, oh yeah, you should do this. And we're like, we don't really need to do that. We'd like to do this. Can't always do that. So just wanted to point that out.
And
Which,
from a process perspective, I agree with you. I think this is the first grant I can remember in history that we've been doing this, that had this much, I guess, this many rules, so to speak, that we had to fulfill as part of just even applying for this. Even though the funds are set aside for the district, we still
Right.
have to go through this process. So the idea is that if the board approves this, we have to have this submitted by the end of the month. But then we still have to go through an entire purchasing and procurement process. We have to follow all state and federal rules with this. So we'll still have to go out and get quotes and bids and meet all those requirements after this.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes if you ever hear of a district that turns down money and you're like, why are they turning down this free money? It's because they don't want to go along with the requirements that are included. Not speaking specifically to
Yeah.
this, but that has certainly happened in my career. I've seen that happen several times. So,
I think
just
we've
to
seen
kind
that
of,
with medical access in some districts. Some districts have turned away the medical access program because the work involved is more than the benefits thereof.
okay, so, do we have motion? Not, okay.
Second.
Wait, who's starting it? You making? the
I'll
motion?
make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Uh, anything else?
Just
All
a
those-
question.
Yes,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Suderheim, you mentioned the possibility of online services for counseling. Would they be used if other counselors could not be found locally because I realize there is a shortage of counselors as well?
That
The
would be,
reason I say this is because I would think that face-to-face counseling would definitely be the best for anybody. I
and
mean, for most,
Sure.
no,
And
let's
so
not say
this would be
anybody, for
essentially a
most people.
a service that we're looking at purchasing for 2 years, and they gives us the feedback. It is a live person. It's not a robot, but
Correct, except it's still different than being in a
There-
room with someone else.
There is a parental involvement part of it as well, which we were very interested in pursuing. So ultimately, those students could be doing that at home with the parent
Mhm.
present. Again, we're in the process of exploring. We can ultimately elect to hire, if we could find them, additional counselors. But again, after 2 years, we're back at,
They're not,
so
There's, I mean,
they're not.
the line, we're waiting for anybody going into trying to get into counseling. There's a
Oh,
lot.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yep.
I think that I totally agree with you, Linda, but I think that we really need to start looking at online services. I can't even believe I'm saying this. My daughter-in-law is now looking at doing online for school psych evals. Speech has been something that's been very successful in districts, allowing people to work from home. And do speech. I think that we're going to be behind the 8 ball if we don't start looking at some of these things. I had a text from a parent yesterday, their daughter who needs mental health services greatly is 99 on the waiting list for Laurel Life.
Yeah.
And Keystone Health has a 1 to 2 year waiting list. And someone I know that is trying to get some neurological, psychological work done in Harrisburg. Hershey Psychiatric has a waiting list. They do not plan on scheduling anyone until January. So that's a crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is- Wow.
Thank you for the statistics, but yeah,
Yeah.
I figured that
No, I totally
basically
agree, but
this was really, the
Why don't
direction
you
you
guys-
had to go in order to gain the counseling, which
Yeah.
which we need desperately.
well, I don't know if you guys know, the borough hired a counselor this year to assist the police department.
Oh, really?
They used grant money to hire a full-time person. They had a part-time person because the need was so great to support these families after the police leave. They thought it was such a need. My husband said they probably could have used 4. But they got 1.
Just a quick clarification, correct me if I'm wrong, so we already approved the vestibule, but this is now saying we can use the grant funds rather than the general fund for the vestibule laminate. So we already approved the vestibule. Now we're just saying, rather than using our general fund, we're gonna use it for the grant. So that's a small just clarification there. if That's correct.
You're correct. Yes, sir.
Are we able to, I should have asked this sooner, but are we able to look at the list of things that, Officer Gordon has given us the last 2 years? Of things that he believed needed to be addressed? I think there was something, a high school fence or something, and like a couple different things. Can we make sure that we at least look at that list? To make sure that any of those things might be covered under this?
We can certainly, we can go back and visit that with Officer Gordon. In fact, he was trying to remember, he was present in the meeting.
Yeah,
wasn't he? Yeah.
he was at the
So-
meeting with us.
so we
can-
have
We
been
talked
involved,
about
yeah.
this, what we're gonna use, like You were listening. at the
Correct,
meeting.
yeah, so, and to your point, Dr. Ward, we can certainly bring that back to the board and the committee to take a look at, but we have made sure that we had him involved in this process as well as tech director and maintenance
That's when we
directors.
sure he's involved. That's
Sure,
when-
oh,
I
absolutely,
mean, I
yeah,
assumed he was, but.
yeah, he was, but you're right, sometimes people make decisions without those folks present, but no, it was important for everyone to have us all in the same room together as we work through this.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Baseball dugouts, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. This item came to us from the baseball coach. He had went through and looked at some issues with baseball dugout roofs. He brought that. Sorry, that's all right. He had brought this item to us. He was looking at replacing the roofs at the dugouts. Had two quotes. One was 3,800, one was 4,100. The difference is the 4,100, $300 more, had a textured surface to it. It did two things. They liked it for the aesthetics, and they also thought that hid a lot of the imperfections on the roof itself a little bit better. What they did do is they went out and they obtained some donations. So they obtained $2,000 worth of donations from American Legion and the Owls Club.
So our cost is.
Our cost would be 2,100 if we go with the textured roof. It would be 1,800 with the flat roof.
And this went through Mr. McElwain.
It did. He was present there as well. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yeah, I should have stated, it came from the basketball coach, but we were over there, Mr. Adams and Mr. McElwain and I well met with him. Yes.
I'll add a little bit if we have, assuming we have a motion in a second.
Yeah. I mean.
Second. And are you going for the textured one? That was the one they preferred? It's $300.
Yeah.
Okay. And second that?
Yes.
Ms. Moss, okay. Okay, this is my observation over many, many years of being pretty closely associated with baseball, especially when I was a softball coach. And just even sitting here. Baseball very, very rarely, and Mr. Holtzman and I were talking about this, asks for money. I mean, that whole field, the not the bleachers, the seats they put in behind and all that, concession stand, pretty much totally, they paid for it. And again, the boosters paid for it, right? Not the district.
Right.
Other teams, some ask for more, some ask for less, but baseball, I think, has always stood out to me where they've handled their own. Which good for them. I mean, obviously they have contacts and people willing to help them. So to me, thinking this is like the first thing I can remember, probably can't be the first thing, but it sure seems like it. I'm willing to go along with this. Whereas other times, other things I would not be. But because they've never asked, or very rarely, I lean towards going for it. So that's just my little view, what I've seen over since the 80s, I would say.
I was
When they
gonna-
put in
I was gonna say.
Camden Yards out there, which we used to call it, even that was almost total. And the softball field, for that matter, was also grants. Like the softball field, when they fixed that over at the middle school, that was just the gym field.
Didn't Matt White donate a bit of?
Now, White donated at least the concession stand. I don't know how much, he probably put some into the field too. I'm not sure, because I never knew who was doing it. But yeah, so a lot of times, I guess, because again, people have connections, trying to help the district out, with not having to use our money to do it. They've been very successful. So for them asking, I think this is rare, very rare.
I know the
You
question.
can go back to,
Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say the mid-80s, and know that those, even way back then, the Booster Club was going out and hitting streets, like they got money for.
Well,
whatever they-
and a lot of the work, like, I'll go back to the softball field because I was coaching it. Like, not only did they get the money for the soil and they did it, the dads came out and like did all this work,
I mean,
which
I
I
remember
was
being
like
there.
amazing,
I actually worked,
You worked on the softball field?
right, because, no, baseball.
Oh, baseball
When
field,
my son
okay, but the
played
baseball
varsity
also,
baseball,
yeah. So,
And I think this question had come up because we had to go back a little bit and look, because I could not remember ever making any improvements to the baseball area. There were improvements made, but not by the district.
Yeah.
But we did make improvements to the softball field in the last 5 years. So back in 2017, I had to look it up here. We spent about $5,700 to put in the fencing out for the home run fencing, which wasn't there. And it was about $8,200 for the scoreboard. They didn't really have Their scoreboard was, I don't know how old, but decades old. But that was replaced at
The
that time
90s.
as well.
Scoreboard was put in the
Yeah.
early nineties, like. 'cause
So
I
we
know
did
that-
put
and that
about-
was totally donated. That was, the district didn't pay for the original score.
Oh, the original, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was about $14,000 that we did put into the softball field within the last.
and,
5
and,
years.
and here's another thing, which I'm not gonna belabor this, I'll think about it later, but like the BB&T field, which is what it's named now, right?
Correct,
Softball field?
correct.
None of that money went to the softball field. That money went to the stadium. So just the fact, that oh, look, they donated all this money to the field. No, they didn't. They were very kind and generous to give it to the stadium, but that money did not go towards that. So once again, that team was left to try to, use
Right.
improvements.
I
The
don't-
fraternal order of the Eagles donation at the tail end of the capital campaign was about $10,000.
Was to the softball
And it
field?
went right to the softball.
Okay.
Because remember, we had that family who came and spoke about.
Yes, but they're not, is their name on the scoreboard or something? Where's the, oh, is it on? the
It's
scoreboard?
underneath the scoreboard.
Okay,
Got some new-
but yet,
And
But
we
yet
do
BB&T
shift over
bought the
those-
naming
those
rights.
Naming rights. So, I mean,
Okay.
that's on naming rights, that's advertisement rights, but they did provide a late donation to the Way Back Capital Campaign after we met our goal, and in light of a conversation that was here at the board meeting that
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
The foundation did determine they would just put that directly into softball.
Okay.
So,
okay, but it's, again, we have nice facilities. A lot of our athletic facilities, but sometimes it does not involve a lot of tax dollars, so.
But Mr. Holtzman, what
Yes,
you just said was facilities actually did, when baseball asked for this, facilities looked at other teams too, and also did some research.
We did. We
And to
took a look
see
at some
that-
other areas.
Yeah.
Right. It really was there. I've been here 7 years. It was the first request we'd received to do something into the baseball field area. So, and certainly, I mean, the stadium, I think we looked at that. I think we spent 2.7 million at the end of the day with the stadium, somewhere along those lines.
We paid
Yeah.
one, and we paid 1.5
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, like,
of tax.
I just looked
Your
that up
tax
the other
dollars
day.
did go to that. That went to the stadium. But some of the other ones did not benefit in the same way. So. Okay. Okay, anything else on this? We have a motion? Susan? Okay, that's right. You did, you did, Ms. Sullivan. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Randy? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
thank you.
All right. Next item,
Trustees here. For 12.
on to trustees. Mr. Holtzman?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So we use the Lincoln Benefit Trust for our medical insurance for our employees. We're a self-insured school district along with 20 other school districts. But we use the LBT to process claims and to handle stop loss insurance, a lot of other administrative roles for them. As part of that, we actually have to have 3 trustees represent the school district on there. Historically, we've had 2 people from the administration and 1 person from the WAEA. That kind of goes back to the agreement when we switched over to the LBT. So part of that process is every so often we have to update some names. Mr. Engel just retired, so that's, we have to, change that person and bring, Ms. Uri was actually the alternate for that. And so as to the next step in there is we do have alternates for each person in case we can't make it. So the trustee meetings are quarterly. They have been online lately, which is wonderful. But we used to have to drive over to New Oxford for these meetings, and attendance was not necessarily the greatest when everybody had to drive in. So the maximum, we get 3 seats at the table, so to speak, as trustees. That's the most any districts allowed in the LBT. So that just shows that size wise, we're pretty much up there.
Okay, motion,
Move to approve.
Second.
questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
Franklin County Children and Youth Service Transportation Contract, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Annually, we have to ask for your approval for these contracts. This is with Franklin County. The real goal between these is to make sure that children who are in foster programs and things of that nature, are homeless, are being transported to the correct school and the proper school. As part of the McKinney-Vento Act, the requirement is that we always want to make sure the student has continuity with their education. So if they were happen to be placed into a facility or into a home up in Chambersburg, we would still transport that child back here to our district. So that's really what that process is. This talks about how those costs are split a little bit on a 50-50 basis. The districts do work really well together. If there's a way to trade off transportation or, have somebody provide the morning transportation, somebody provide the evening transportation. The transportation directors at all the districts in the county do work really well together. They try to make sure that we can keep that cost close to zero as possible. So, but it's never zero, but nonetheless, it's the right thing to do. So again, this is an annual process. We're asking for your approval.
Okay, motion,
Second.
questions? All
Just
those in favor? Oh,
Can
sorry.
I ask the
So
question?
sorry.
On a typical year, are there a lot of students that we end up transporting to other units?
I don't have a number, but
Okay.
yeah, I know Ms. McDonald's back here and I don't want to put her in a corner and ask her a question like that, but I'm certain we have many students who fit that criteria.
Might be situational, might be for a period of time till they transit, like it's not necessarily the entire year, although it
Right.
easily could be. But it could be as they're transitioning or there's.
Anything else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Used forklift purchase, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. And this is something for the facilities committee, if anyone wants to add to the conversation. Mr. Adams has brought our current high school forklift to our attention for several facilities committee meetings. He continues to put it on the agenda every time. We've put a lot of money into it. We put $6,000 into it in the last 2.5 years. It just continues to be a drain. It just is not very easy to maintain. His synopsis is it's just a piece of equipment that really just doesn't do well being maintained on a long-term basis. It just, not every car will last 20 years. It's one of those situations. So his recommendation is certainly not a new one, but to possibly to have the authorization to find a used one. There are used ones out there in the market. He is asking for authorization. Well, actually, we as a district are asking for authorization to go ahead and go out and purchase one not to exceed $20,000. And primarily this is used at the high school, middle school, and Summit View. We do have another one, but that's primarily used over at there.
Motion,
Move to approve.
your second,
Second.
okay? Questions for Mr. Holtzman?
Just a comment from the facilities, the ones Mr. Adams were looking at were in the $16,000 to $18,000 range. But we wanted to give him a little bit of buffer, as well as just an upper limit. So if he found something he liked, he can move on it without having to come to us for that specific forklift. So that's why we went with the $20,000, kind of give him that room and flexibility to find something and then move on it quickly.
Anything else? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about the gate, Mr. Holtzman or Mr. Klein or Dr. Klein, whoever's doing that.
You're pointing at
Who
me.
wants to-
I
Who
noticed that,
wants to
Dr. Klein.
Jump on this.
Glad to talk about gate.
Sure. No, this is,
That's why we're talking about
So-
it now, Dr.
so
Roy.
this was the topic, and I just want to open it, I think. This was a topic that came to our attention. There's been concern over the years as to large events at the high school, primarily. I mean, anywhere on that campus over there, but mostly at the high school. Typically, it's going to be football events or some other evening events over there. Two concerns are, one concern is lighting on that 3rd Street extended. So it's that little section of road there between our parking lot and Myrtle Avenue itself. The other item was the gate itself. There's a gate right there, of course, at the end that is typically locked in the evenings and on weekends and such. I did put a decent amount of notes. I hope I kind of tried to capture what was going on or what's going on today or some of the concerns and issues. If I missed something, my apologies on the notes there. And we tried to do a little bit of a map to explain why or how they try to stagger some things for parking on 3rd Street extended there during some of the larger events, primarily football events.
So there's no recommendation here, or is there?
I have one.
Well, I mean, from the administration.
I believe it was just a discussion item unless I'm mistaken. I'm sorry.
Okay, right, okay, take it away, Dr. Royer.
Well, a couple things just to kind of give some background information to the current board. Those lights on that area were paid for with grant funds.
And because at some point in time, administration and the board felt that that area was not lighted properly and students were in danger when they walked home in the evening and after events. So again, there was a complaint by an individual that the lights were too bright, so now they were turned off at night. And I'm very sympathetic to that. I'm also sympathetic to all the people on Clayton Avenue that have cars in front of their house all day long. So, but I do think student safety is the most important. I guess my concern is that I would like to see a system in place that when that high school is busy all the time, every night. It is not just big events. And since we made that driveway one way, there's only one way to exit. And it really doesn't make sense not to have that gate open for people to leave and access. And it's just random whether it's open or shut. I mean, I think I sent text one day, was a concert or something, like community concert or something, and they had opened it and then the next time it was shut. I know it's not you, I'm just looking.
No,
at
no, I understand.
But, I think we need to make a decision, when does that gate need to be open? It is open after school, correct, Dr. McCallum? It's supposed to be. Yeah.
And at times, I would agree with you. At times we've been inconsistent, and usually that's because somebody forgot to open something or turn lights on for football events. Certainly I've heard.
Maybe it's time to look at something a little more techy, like I searched. There has to be something you put on the gate where you could do it remotely. I mean.
There are
it's
things
like
you
a
can't
chain
do.
link.
There are things you can do that way. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
But I think it is really important, we had someone hit on Second Street. And when it's night and people are exiting and now everybody has to go that one way, and then students and things are leaving, crossing the street. And it's dark out there, it's really dangerous.
So for football game, then they're coming in over the hill there and from bottom of the hill. That's where they enter. But exiting, they exit all three.
No, you cannot go up the hill anymore.
They
Right,
just
I'm
exit
sorry,
on
I
two
knew that.
locations.
Two, right, I know you can't go. Those two, the two exits.
But again, there's a lot of other things other than football. I mean, we have a lot of people at soccer events. We have a lot of people, Dr. McCallum, name the big events. There's all the time.
Okay, so why are they not wanting to open it? Like for a soccer game or whatever event, they don't want to open it.
Because there's nothing in place that tells someone, whoever that someone might be, when to open the gate.
That's the only reason.
I know it's probably one of those things. I think from my understanding, typically on weekends and evenings, they wanted that gate to be closed. That was kind of a decision that was made at some point in time. And so I think probably the emphasis is trying to lock that towards the end of the day or evening. And then if there's a large event and someone didn't plan ahead, obviously they didn't keep the gate open.
Well,
Or,
to me, it doesn't make sense that
Yeah.
someone has to come back at night just to lock that gate. You do what I'm saying?
I do.
But I also think that we need to think about the safety of our students and our parents and maybe come up with a different solution. Rather than a piece of chain and a padlock.
Which is what's on it now.
So. I
So
mean,
who does lock it? The maintenance guy?
It'd be maintenance custodial staff. Yeah. They would
does someone
lock it
come back
around.
to is the track automatically locked now?
So,
We just
so
approved that.
it's not automatic. So right now, we
Yeah.
still have somebody comes in at 5 or 5:30 in the morning to unlock the turnstile, although we do have an item on the, I think it's, well, maybe it's on the next
Yeah,
agenda.
the facilities.
It might be the next meeting, is to have that automated for the turnstile itself.
Well, maybe that safety money would help do something. Maybe we could look into something for the skate thing too, because that would certainly be a safety issue.
Yeah, I mean, it would be easier to not to have to make sure we
Yeah,
lock
but-
it. No,
but
I could certainly.
How's it gonna swing open? I mean, you're gonna get some
Well,
kind
I
of
know
gate that
people
would
that
swing
have
open.
gates that swing open at their homes.
Might
I
be
mean,
price- That might be crazy.
don't know.
We could certainly go out and take a look at it and see what it would run. I mean, we
Or
can certainly look
designate
at those
someone.
options.
I just think
Yeah.
that you can't have an entire high school exiting on Second Street with a one-way
Right.
driveway. It just doesn't make any sense.
I will tell you, Friday nights at the football game, I've walked down that street many times for football games. And because the sidewalk is so narrow and there are shrubs and there's one house there that come out, people walk in that street all the time. So I think at least at the beginning of the game, And even towards, at the end of the game for Friday nights, we may not want to have it open because one, they use it for emergency vehicles. But the other thing is people have to walk in that street because they fit on the sidewalk. And most people don't walk single file, you know, so if they go out to that street. So it's a little bit of a, but that particular night, I'm not sure it's, at least where I've seen.
I think it opens the third quarter, but that was an issue too with those shrubs. The borough told those people to cut the shrubs. So, I mean, I think that we're, you know, I think at some point, yeah. So I
Says
think,
in here, it's open end of the third quarter.
Mhm. Yeah, they-
It's, I will tell you, to walk out at that street, they don't walk on that sidewalk.
Well, they do, but it's not a narrow street. It's narrow.
Street or
The street, the sidewalk's narrow. Yeah, the
Yeah.
sidewalk's narrow. That's why they have to walk on the street. I like the gate open. You know, but I do see the problem with getting somebody to close it, but things like that.
Well, maybe you
Yeah.
should just leave it open all the time, since we eliminated people leaving on Second Street through 2 exits. I mean, I just don't know how you can have a high school with 1,300 people, just one way to get
I
out.
hear you.
out.
I hear you.
Whatever.
Diane, can you speak up, please?
She has to be asked. She has to be asked.
So at the football games, what I observe is a lot of individuals who want to hang but not come to the game are on that road. Officer Gordon is not here and I do not want to speak for him, but I know he has feelings about whether the gate should be open or closed. And I hear what you're saying in terms of weighing the things. When the lights are off and the gate is open, I think we tend to have more hanging out in that area. So part of me is wondering if the gate's going to be open all the time, we might need to revisit the conversation about the lights for safety reasons. That's where a lot of our like middle school friends like to hang out without being supervised because the admin and the security guards are typically inside. So yes, it is. It's a question, but I think it was also closed for like 3 years and never opened at all. So that did change. So we're working on it, I guess.
And I think when we first started, our Bernheim started, I think we were told at one point, I honestly don't remember by whom, but that the borough and the district had an agreement that it would be closed at night. I do recall that. I think that was part of why it was, because we were getting calls a lot from the borough that, you know, it wasn't closed. And that reminded us that, you know, it's been a while, but that the thing had.
So are you thinking of a certain like time? Dr. Roy, you want it like, you know, if there's no event, then it will close at 8 o'clock. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know when it closes now. I'm not sure. I think it closes after, like somewhere in between when sporting events are going on.
Yeah, I'd actually, I don't have,
They
it.
close
I
it.
don't
when
have
the 20 minutes is on?
No, I'm just practicing some sort.
Oh, practice.
Yeah.
But even that.
it's probably
why?
closed after
See, that's-
practice, I would guess.
Why do you want to close it for practice? Why should they be able to exit that?
Well, I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's more than I was asking for, but I mean, if we could have it open till a certain time. And, but I think it should be open for
Is it
any time that there is an evening event at the high school.
Because if you,
Streets everywhere in town have lights, or they brighter
There were
lights.
complaints early on, I think, from one people who spent the lights.
it might be the type of light it is.
It is.
Lock the gate. It
The
shines
light
at this
was
person's
right
house.
in their bedroom window. Yeah.
Right. The house
Hey, I
is
got
right there.
It's right on the turn.
Or the turn,
Yeah, the
Well,
bigger brick
coming
house
from
there.
big Lakers.
Well, those
They're
lights
not
can be on a
complaining
timer
people
too.
either.
Well, I mean, I don't see the reason why the lights couldn't go off at like 10 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? I mean, after,
Didn't one of them go off? Didn't the farthest one go off, but the other two stayed on? Don't I remember that?
It's the middle one or something. the left one. I forget. At one
it
point,
wasn't
we-
bad.
At one point, we probably, I
Yeah,
think we
it was-
did
one of
change
them was
some
off
things, but
because that was the one that really caused the problem.
Yeah.
Before we do like a time thing with the gate, can we figure out first if there is an agreement with the borough? That way, if there is an agreement with the borough that it has to be closed at night, then we can factor in, hey, this is a certain time that we will lock and close it. And maybe this is just I think Dr. Klein mentioned this, maybe it's just my newness to this, but why do we even have a gate there?
Well, there's a whole history about putting that road in.
Okay,
Yes.
and so maybe that's just what I'm missing, but then I think it's in if there's, if
To
there's
several
an
comments-
agreement
to
that
several
we have to
comments, there
abide
is some
by.
original lease agreement requirements.
Yeah.
I think they do reference gates. It probably wouldn't hurt to take a little time to
Yeah.
take a look at.
So I
that.
think if we
Yeah.
can figure out what we're obligated to first and then go from there in terms of like a schedule.
But as
Can
a
I
school
ask-
district, should we be trying, I mean, like, that's creating a way for anyone to go right through the school area. Like I could, like, you know what I'm saying, if I want to take a shortcut, even though I have to go over the speed bumps. They could be driving as fast as they want. Students are going in and out for practice. Like, I think we need to try to protect our school property or our students, like in the middle of the afternoon or
That's why we have 3 police officers now.
they're gonna be, they will be in other areas, I imagine.
Well,
so.
I think that was actually a suggestion.
I think what
Well,
changed the
that's why
conversation is when they
we didn't go to the speed
eliminated
bump.
that
We
driveway
put that
on D-Wing
officer
driveway as an
there.
exit.
Because it just goes down.
Right.
Yeah.
So you took away a major exit of the high school and you didn't do anything to adjust for that.
Except at dismissal.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about the school day.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm concerned about when we have the public there and everybody's fighting for those spots to get out and the students trying to walk across the parking lot, you know, and a lot of people will go out that other way.
Can I ask when and why the first entrance was made only one way? Because my kids were in school and there's room. I mean, when and why did that happen? To make that canned exit that way?
I think it was for dismissal, at the end of the day, if basically for dismissal, when no child was in there. I think it had to do with the busing up there or the pickup.
It becomes a bit of a challenge when you have buses and kids and everybody trying to go in and out on that. You know, it's kind of a blind hill. So you have people
Okay.
coming to go
Are
down
there
the
still
hill.
arrows in the
Yeah.
sidewalk pointing both ways?
They need
No?
repainted. They need repainted.
When I came to back to school night, I parked up there in what we used to call deep wing, and when
Oh,
I
no.
backed
Take a
out,
look.
I went out that way. I thought there was still arrows there. I mean,
My parking spot was right up there. I was definitely going. up there. But that's your answer, Kim. So there's the sort of child. That's what.
that doesn't apply to football games and other events.
Exactly. No,
I don't know how you could do that.
Yeah, it was all.
Unless they don't. Wow,
Oh, I'm sure.
They leave the ground once someone is.
My daughter bumped somebody in that, because her floor mat got over the brake and the gas, and when she pushed the brake. Yeah.
But to your point, in the evening, that would.
In the evening, it would-
So do we want, so what do we want to do with this? You want this to go back to facilities? You want to form an ad hoc committee to look at this specific issue? What's everybody want to do?
I mean,
I mean, I would think this,
Let facilities do?
or, you know, why don't we ask administration and the administration, the principals to come up with a good idea, like an idea of what they think is reasonable. I mean,
Well, I think you want board input.
okay. Well, let's
I
not
mean,
take-
that could be part of it, but you know,
Okay.
so then again, you want to form a new committee or do you want to go to facilities? down?
What'd you say, Rita?
I said that, I mean, I'm prepared to go back and talk to the high school administration officer, Gordon, and come back with our recommendation, and then we can have that discussion. So
Could we
we
just
can
bring
put
it back
that
to
in the,
discussion?
I can put that in the Friday folder.
Discussion?
Yeah, but, that's what I said. I think we should do 100%.
I've been directed by the board president to sit in.
Got it.
Okay, great.
We
I'll
will
just-
get,
Thank
I'll
you
just
for
talk to
volunteering.
okay,
Okay.
I'll let you know when we're meeting.
All right, great.
Might have to wait till Monday. We got it 3 days here.
I
Monday.
think, I mean, we've waited 3 years. I think.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
gonna say,
yeah.
we're gonna see tomorrow. Okay. Okay, good. All right. On
I'll keep
to
it happening tomorrow.
financials, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have bills payable for general fund and cafeteria as well as requisitions. And then just a reminder, we're kind of switching through that requisition process. So you see some through the old way and some through the new way as we're still transitioning through that. There's also some real estate tax changes there for property that is no longer, does not have the improvements anymore. And also there's a veteran who now meets the disability requirements to have their properties exempted from taxes. We have normal JP Harris exonerations for per capita occupation. The budget income expenses report for the last fiscal year, 21-22. Believe it or not, we continue to push expenses and revenues against that, and we'll do so through the audit process through probably September, even into October. Some of that's also Abraxas. We have to wait for all the Abraxas billing to come through for that process. So even though Abraxas provided services last year, you're going to see invoices and expenses from them all the way in through September and October. And then we have the treasurer's report, which is just a summary of our current financial position for each different account, which many of you signed today. Thank you for the signs.
Motion,
Second.
questions? I have a question. Actually, I don't know if you know the answer, Mr. Holtzman, but the whole thing about that tax exoneration.
Mhm.
Are they like, it certainly isn't for every disabled veteran.
No, you have to, it's very difficult criteria. One is you actually have to be, I believe it's 100% disabled is my understanding. You have to be 100% disabled. And then there's also an income threshold. So they actually have to meet a certain income
Okay.
threshold. I've known some who met the criteria for the disability, but did not meet the financial income.
Okay,
And my understanding is that the disability income also counts as the income. So it's good in the sense that they're getting a disability income from the government, but then it counts against them from that qualification
and
for the
this-
property tax.
family did still qualify to
They
have
still
that
qualified.
adjustment?
They still qualified based on
Wow.
what that level was. I don't remember what the actual dollar level is. The county takes care of that. And then they have to renew this every 5 years, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
on this process. We have very few people that meet all of the criteria for that. I bet you we probably don't bring more than 1 or 2 people to you a year, I would think. It's pretty rare. And then, of course, if they sell the house, situation changes, then that exemption goes away.
We had a motion, right? Anything else? Questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Clayton Cabinet comments. Anybody? Yes, Dr. Stern.
All right, just in response to the question that was asked earlier, Ms. States is watching the meeting and she texted me to indicate that last school year we had 35 students that were homeless for a period of time. Whether or not they all required transportation, that was the number from last school year. I did forward the ATSI plan to all the board members, so you should have it in the email. I know we just essentially affirmed that we had reviewed it, but I went back and I was looking to see whether or not it was included. I thought it was included in the Friday folder, but it doesn't appear to be included in the July 26th agenda. That was a virtual meeting, so that might have been a disconnect on my part, and I apologize for that. I want to basically agree wholeheartedly with Mrs. Sullivan. Our new group of educators are absolutely amazing. I had 2 great days with a very diverse group of individuals who are very enthusiastic, and I'm very excited that they've elected to join the WASD staff. Also, we had a very successful community night. Dr. Royer and Dr. McCallum and Dr. Kopko and Mr. Bigler and myself served 503 free hot dogs. So, and 800 bottles of water, I believe. So, the students were very appreciative. The families were very appreciative. And the funny thing is the students also, like, they would totally call themselves out. They'd be like, can I come back and have another hot dog? We were like, absolutely. So it was a great opportunity to see the band, the cheerleaders, and the fall student athletes. So it was a great evening. And it was cooler than normal. So I did not, like, my concession stand experience was a little more positive than it was in the past. Thank you. And tomorrow's first day of school, so
Yeah.
we are excited.
Board member comments.
Well, first of all, I'd like to add to that, for the opening day, I think a lot of us were there, for Dr. Klein and administration's opening day, but just for the administration here, for people listening, I thought it was really excellent. I thought the atmosphere was upbeat. Everybody's very positive. I thought the administrators did a great job, presenting first choice and the pillars, including teachers, to talk about your vision. I think this is great. But you did a really good job capturing it, easily understood. So I think we're getting there with everybody kind of understand. Thought it was a great kickoff, especially it not having not having the end of the year. Last year for people, that's a shame and it was nice to recognize retirements and things like that. So the other thing I wanted to bring up, just in case, because it's going to affect two of our schools, and I've already talked to Mrs. McGuire, Waynesboro Daycare Center is actually now in the transportation business. We've started our own company. It's called Kids Ride. We were required to do that in order to help out the other centers that did not have transportation to school. We are currently going to be transporting 16 students from Waynesboro Daycare to Fairview, 3 from Faith Builders and 15 from Beanstalk. And that number continues to grow. Otterbein was only able to offer Fairview before and after school as a result of Waynesboro Daycare Board willing to start this business. So we will have our own bus and our place in the bus line. And we're working that out with Mr. Weatherall at all. So as a result, the Waynesboro Daycare has a van for rent. I know sometimes it's hard for the district to find 10-passenger vans. So we have a 2020 10-passenger van for rent if anybody needs it throughout the school year. We're going to keep hold of it in case we need it. I'm approved as a driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to bring that up that the board did approve renting the van. And I did say, I mentioned it was right now, you can't even find a van.
Right, we're still waiting for 2 vans, as you remember.
Well, if you would
We
like to
ordered
rent
them
one in
many,
the-
many
in the
months ago,
meantime,
so
well,
we may be giving you a call. Thank you, I appreciate it. Dr.
Okay.
Ward. Thank you.
I'll just say, I also attended the opening day events and I thought both were great. Attended back to school night at Summit View, enjoyed it, and my 2 girls are very excited to go into kindergarten and 1st grade, and they loved getting to meet their teachers and that sort of thing. So we sometimes say it jokingly, but it is the most wonderful time of the year, sort of thing. So I think it's an exciting time to be a part of this district, and especially for our kids.
Seems like it was really good attendance just from some teachers posting on Facebook, like Fairview people. I know you guys were very happy. Fantastic. Yep.
that's incredible.
I went to the high school to back to school night, and as I'm driving down Second Street and looking to where I'm gonna park, I was pleasantly surprised at all the people that I saw. And walking up, parking way over here, we had to walk all the way around to where the flagpole is, and when I got in there, halls were full. I mean, I went to look at a yearbook to see if they had my yearbook. I have friends that lost theirs. They didn't have my year, but then I stopped and talked to some of the teachers that I know, and
You didn't have the yearbook?
Yeah.
they didn't have a 73. They were selling them.
Oh,
Oh,
They're
I was
selling
gonna
that,
say, they
yeah.
have one.
Okay, I
Okay.
was-
Yeah.
Yeah, I
they
thought
have
they
one.
had all
I
that.
went through that scare before.
Right down like
They
that.
have one. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, they have one.
Okay, good.
And there were so many people in there, and I saw one lady buy a couple, so, And, yeah, the halls were full of, students and parents walking, looking for their teachers, so I thought, great.
Great. Okay, anybody else? Okay,
Yeah, I'm very thankful that we're starting tomorrow, with a good sense of security and safety for our kids, and that we'll be having 3 resource officers,
They're police
school
officers.
police officers. And I'm just so thankful that we can do that and that our kids can come back, hopefully feeling that, that they'll be fine in our situation. And also, I want to thank Jason Weatherall and his family for giving up their weekend to go out to Maui and pull weeds, because Maui looks fabulous for the first time in a long time. It looks fabulous. So thanks, Jason and Heather.
Oh, and the, Saturday night, the pool, the PTOs did that was fabulous too. I was at that with my granddaughter, and it was packed, but I didn't see squabbles. I it just looked like everybody was having the greatest time. It was a wonderful experience again.
I think everybody watching this is gonna want to move here. What do you think? Yeah.
Our enrollment looks really good right now, so let's keep it that way.
I think there was something in the letter. I'll double
Can we,
check.
I just want to say, can we make sure that we like let the middle school parents know that they now have a police officer? And that elementary is also, I mean, I think it's important that we hire these people, but I think it's also important we let people know we did it. If they know that they're there, I don't know. that we-
Sure, like we can do a photo and, you know,
Yeah.
a press release. I know he went around, the one officer started yesterday. No, yeah, yesterday. And so, Officer Jordan has a plan with, he went around and he introduced the admin. Because the kids aren't here yet, so, but it'll start.
Well, actually, it's probably a good idea maybe for a borough blast as kids, because it's unusual to see a police officer walking around elementary schools on a routine basis. It might be a good thing to just let principals tell their families. Yeah. Well, and hopefully other that they're also there to be proactive and not just.
Fairview complete their new rearrangement of, was it dropping off or picking up, or will you let us know at the next meeting whether it has? Oh, I'm sorry. Popped into my mind. Okay. I hope it works.
I'm just glad it's finished.
Okay, anything else? All right, we will not be meeting after this, so we will simply be adjourning if we have a motion.
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Back in 2 weeks.